It's raining outside again. Not heavy, just soft and steady, like the sky is whispering something it can't say out loud. The kind of rain that makes the trees look greener, the pavement darker, the world a little quieter. Inside, the house feels still. Too still. All I can hear is the ticking clock in the hallway, a slow, patient sound, and the hum of the fridge, a low, constant buzz that reminds me I'm not entirely alone. I'm sitting at the kitchen table, fingers wrapped around a mug of tea that went cold an hour ago. I haven't taken a sip. I just hold it because I need to hold something. Sometimes silence is comforting. Today it presses against me like a question I don't know how to answer. I never used to believe in love. Not the kind people wrote songs about. Not the kind they showed in movies. The kind that makes you reckless and stupid and brave. Love always felt like something distant to me. Something with sharp edges. Something fragile. Something that hurt more than it healed. People say love is warm. I used to think it was just a trick of the light, something people wanted so badly they convinced themselves it was real. But then he came. My little brother. Not really, not by blood or name. But that's what my mum used to call him. Your little brother's coming for the summer. She had said casually over the phone, like she was talking about the weather or a grocery run. Be nice, okay? It's been a while. I remember rolling my eyes. It's not like we're 12 anymore. She laughed. Maybe not. But some things don't change. That summer started like any other. Long days that bled into warm evenings. The scent of cut grass lingering in the air, sunscreen and sweat, and the occasional lazy bee humming past the screen door. I didn't expect anything when he showed up. Not from him, not from myself. But when I opened the door and saw him standing there, something flickered. He had the same laugh I remembered from when we were kids. Louder then, wilder. Now it was slower, a little deeper, like time had smoothed it out but not taken it away. His hair was longer, his face sharper. He had freckles I didn't remember, and eyes like warm brown sugar, soft, steady, searching. We hadn't seen each other in years. 5, 6. I couldn't be sure. But when he smiled, it was like no time had passed. He dropped his bag by the door, looked around like he was measuring the place, then looked back at me. Hey, he said. Just that. Simple. Easy. But it landed in my chest like a stone skipping across water. Something stirred. Something I wasn't ready to name. That night, after he went to bed, I sat alone in the living room, staring at the glow of the porch light through the rain-speckled window. I tried to tell myself it was just nostalgia. Childhood familiarity, playing tricks on me. But the truth sat in my bones like a storm that hadn't broken yet. I didn't know then how much of my own story would begin with him. He moved in on a Thursday. The sky was heavy with clouds, and the air smelled like rain, even though it hadn't started yet. His mum dropped him off around noon, hugged him goodbye in the driveway, and left the car running like she didn't plan to stay long. She waved at me through the windshield with a soft smile, like she knew something I didn't. Then it was just the two of us. The guest room had been a storage space for years. Stale boxes, old suitcases, forgotten holiday decorations, a broken fan. We cleared it out together, side by side, brushing off dust and dodging cobwebs. The whole room smelled like cardboard and old summer air. He found a photo tucked into a box of my old school notebooks. It was the two of us, maybe 8 or 9, sitting on the front steps, arms around each other, sunburned faces, grinning wide. We were both missing teeth. You cried after this was taken, he said, examining it like it was some fragile artifact. I snorted. Did not. You did, he said with a smile, because I told you we were moving. You wouldn't talk to me for days. I remembered that now, how angry I'd been, how I'd pushed him and then locked myself in my room like a little drama queen. He just grinned, then walked over and taped the photo to the corner of the mirror in his room. The tape barely held, but it stayed. That night, I heard music coming from his side of the wall. Soft, acoustic stuff, mostly guitar, no lyrics, just melodies that drifted through the drywall like they belonged there. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, listening. His door was cracked open, just a little, like he didn't want to shut anyone out completely, like he was waiting for someone to come in. Maybe. We started sharing snacks at night. It happened naturally, like gravity. I'd walk into the kitchen and find him on the back porch with a bag of chips and 2 cans of soda, or he'd knock gently on my bedroom door with a bowl of popcorn balanced in one hand and an apologetic smile on his face. We didn't talk much at first, just sat side by side and let the silence fill in the gaps. But it wasn't awkward. It was something else, something softer. We had a rhythm. He always sat with one foot tucked under him, the other leg swinging slightly. He had a habit of licking his thumb before flipping the page of whatever book he was reading. He didn't like horror movies, but would still watch them with me, clutching a throw pillow like a shield. One night, our hands brushed when we both reached for a cookie. Just a small thing, barely even contact. But he looked at me, really looked, at me, and for a second, I couldn't breathe. He didn't say anything, just kept holding my gaze. I think I nodded. Maybe I smiled. I don't remember. My brain was full of static. Another night, we ended up in front of the bathroom mirror together, both brushing our teeth, half asleep, standing side by side in boxers and old t-shirts. Our shoulders touched. Neither of us moved away. He rinsed his mouth, spit, and looked at me through the mirror. His eyes caught mine for just a second too. Long. He didn't smile. Neither did I, but something passed between us anyway. Not words, not even thoughts. Just something. It was nothing. And everything. There was a quiet between us that wasn't empty. It was full of the things we didn't say, the tension we didn't name, the questions we weren't ready to ask. One night, I watched him fall asleep on the couch, his head tilted toward the armrest, his mouth slightly open. There was a freckle on his neck I hadn't noticed before. I wanted to reach out, just to brush his hair back, just to see if he'd lean into it. I didn't, but I wanted to. And that wanting sat in my chest like a secret I couldn't tell even myself. By the second week, we had a rhythm. Not one we talked about, not one we planned, just something that settled into place, like rain knowing exactly where to fall. He got up early, always had. I didn't, never could. But somehow, no matter how much I told myself I wanted to sleep in, I always ended up in the kitchen around the same time as him. He'd already have the kettle going, humming to himself, barefoot, shirt rumpled like he'd slept hard and fast. The morning light would catch in his hair, which stuck out in every direction, like even his dreams had energy. He made the coffee. I pretended I was already awake. It became our silent little game. Some mornings, he wore headphones, dancing around the kitchen like nobody was watching, except I was, always. From behind the corner of the wall, my hands wrapped around a mug I didn't drink from, just watching him spin and pour and sing under his breath. He never caught me staring, or maybe he did, and just never let on. His shampoo smelled like mint and something deeper, cedarwood, I think. That scent lingered in the hallway after he passed. I started to recognize the shape of him before he even entered the room, the sound of his feet, the way he sighed when the coffee machine beeped, how he cracked his knuckles one hand at a time. We started going on grocery runs together. At first, just because my mum left us a list. But the list got forgotten half the time. He'd leave it on the counter or stuffed into his back pocket, wrinkled and unread. Yet somehow, he always remembered what we needed. And even the things we didn't, like the mango popsicles I hadn't had since I was 12, or the cereal I used to eat straight from the box. "I saw these and thought of you," he said once, tossing the box into the cart without looking at me. He didn't need to. My heart was already pounding like I'd run a mile. We made dinner together most nights. Nothing fancy, just ours. Pasta, grilled cheese, frozen dumplings. One time we tried to make stir-fry from scratch. It ended in mild disaster and laughter that echoed down the hall. "Next time," he said, holding up a burned piece of broccoli like it was evidence. "Next time you're cooking," I replied, and he threw a carrot at me. We ate on the couch with our knees touching. He always sat close, not too close, but close enough that I could feel the warmth of him. His knee would press lightly against mine, and he never pulled away. He never apologized, and I never asked him to move. Sometimes I caught him watching me, not in a way that made me nervous, in a way that made me feel seen, like I mattered. His eyes would soften, just slightly. And when I looked back, neither of us looked away. One morning, I walked into the kitchen and found him standing at the window. The light poured over him like something out of a dream. He had one hand wrapped around his mug, the other tugging gently at the curtain cord. He didn't see me at first. The way the sun hit his skin, the outline of his jaw, the sleepy set of his shoulders. I forgot how to breathe. I stood there longer than I meant to, just watching, just holding that moment like it was glass and I didn't dare let it fall. Then he turned and our eyes met, and he smiled, small, barely there, but real. "You're always up right when the coffee's done," he said, sipping from his mug. "Maybe I like the smell," I said, walking over. He raised an eyebrow. "Or maybe you like me." I paused. My heart skipped. My hand hovered over the sugar jar. He laughed softly and turned away before I could say anything. It was a joke. I was supposed to laugh, but my mouth had forgotten how to work. That night, I lay in bed thinking about the way he'd looked in the sunlight, how his voice dipped when he said that last line, how he hadn't waited for an answer, and how badly I'd wanted to give one. We never talked about it. Not the late-night snacks, not the movie marathons, not the way our knees always seemed to find each other on the couch like magnets pretending they weren't. We never talked about the way our eyes lingered, or how our laughter came easier when it was just the two of us, or how the silence between us felt full, not empty. One night, we were watching some ridiculous action movie, the kind with explosions every 5 seconds and a plot that made zero sense. He laughed at something a character said, head tilted back just slightly, lips parted in the glow of the screen. I looked at him and felt my chest twist in a way I didn't understand yet, or maybe didn't want to. I almost said something, anything. I don't know what exactly, just some thread to pull on, something to see if he'd pull it with me. But the words didn't come. They never did when he looked at me, like that, like he was hoping I'd be brave enough first. His hand rested on the cushion beside mine, close, close enough that my pinky could have reached his. And I wanted to. God, I wanted to, but I didn't. I just sat there, pretending the tension in my chest was from the movie. He turned to me and smiled, soft. "You okay?" I nodded. "Yeah, just tired." It was a lie. I was wired. I was burning. But I didn't know how to say that. He didn't push. He never did. But sometimes I caught him looking at me when he thought I wasn't watching, like he was trying to memorize something, like he was waiting. His eyes always held something he didn't say, some secret tucked into the corners, something quiet and heavy and beautiful. I wanted to know what it was. I wanted to give him mine too. But we stayed quiet. We made space for the silence, held it like it was precious. Maybe because we were afraid to fill it with something we couldn't take back. Some nights, I couldn't sleep. I'd lie there staring at the ceiling, every creak in the house sounding like his footsteps. I'd think about his hand brushing mine, his voice saying my name, the way the house felt different when he was in it, lighter, warmer, like it finally made sense. I think I was falling for him, slowly, quietly, like rain sinking into the ground, drop by drop, so gently you don't realize you're drenched until it's too late. Once I had a dream where he reached for me. That was it. No kiss, no dramatic confession. Just him, his hand finding mine in a crowded room. The quiet of it, the steadiness. I woke up with my hand still curled in the blanket, holding nothing. The next day, I watched him water the plants on the porch. He hummed some tune I didn't know, leaning into the sun like he belonged to it. I stood behind the screen door for a long time, not moving, just looking. I wanted to tell him then how I felt, how being near him felt like waking up slowly, warm, peaceful, a little confusing, but never wrong. Instead, I just pushed the door open and said, "You missed one." He looked up at me, squinting in the light, and smiled. "You always do that," he said. "Do what? Watch me like you're trying to figure out if I'm real." I froze. My mouth opened, then closed again. I didn't know what to say, so I just shrugged. "Maybe I am." He laughed, but it wasn't a full laugh, more like something held back. And then he turned back to the plants. That night, we ate dinner in the living room, knees touching again. I watched the way he chewed his food slowly, thoughtfully, like every bite mattered. The way his eyes darted to mine when he thought I wasn't paying attention. He didn't say it, and I didn't either, but everything in that room already knew. The storm came fast. Not the usual kind, the kind you can hear creeping in from far away, warning you with low rumbles and grey skies. No, this one slammed into the world all at once. Thunder cracked like the sky had split open. The wind roared, bending tree limbs and slamming the porch swing against the railing. I was in the kitchen when the lights blinked once, twice, then died completely. Everything went still, except the rain. It kept going, louder now, demanding to be heard. I stood there for a second in the dark, waiting for something, anything, to happen. And then I heard him. "Power's out," he called from the hallway, voice half laughing, half nervous. "You okay?" "I'm good," I said, though my heart had jumped a little too hard. A moment later, a flashlight beam cut through the dark, shaky and soft. He appeared in the doorway, hair mussed, one sock missing. The sight of him made me want to laugh and breathe and run and stay, all at once. "Guess it's a sleepover," he said, holding up the flashlight like it was a trophy. I rolled my eyes. "Yeah, just like we're 12 again." His smile didn't fade. "Want to build a blanket fort in the living room?" I shrugged. "Already did that, when you were in the shower." He grinned and handed me the flashlight. "Then I'll meet you in my room." But we ended up in mine. It was warmer, I had extra blankets, and neither of us said the obvious. That the thunder was loud and the wind sounded like it might tear the roof off. We lay on the bed, side by side, staring up at the ceiling we couldn't see. The storm outside howled. The windows rattled once, twice, then settled. I could feel him beside me, not just hear his breathing or sense the weight on the mattress. I could feel him, the way his warmth spread into the space between us, the way his arm rested near mine, just near enough. Then, under the blanket, his hand brushed mine. At first, I thought it was an accident, but he didn't pull away, and neither did I. It was just a touch, a small, simple touch, but I felt everything. Every second we'd shared up to that point, every unsaid thing, every look, every pause. My fingers curled just slightly, and I felt his do the same. We didn't speak. We didn't even look at each other. We just lay there, breathing slow. Together. My heart was thudding in my chest, louder than the thunder. I wondered if he could hear it. I thought about all the times I could have said something. Should have. All the moments that could have been something more if I'd just let them. But now, in the dark, when everything else had been stripped away, the noise, the light, the safety of pretending, this tiny, silent touch felt louder than anything. He shifted slightly. I felt the weight of his arm settle closer to mine, felt his thumb graze the edge of my hand. My breath caught. Still, We didn't move. Not away. The thunder rolled, distant now. The storm was starting to pass. But inside me, something had just begun. I didn't need him to kiss me. I didn't need him to say anything. I didn't even need to look at him to know. Because in that touch, in that stillness, I felt it. I realized I was already in love. Not the kind of love you plan for. Not the kind you name right away. The slow kind. The kind that sneaks up on you when you're brushing your teeth next to someone or cooking pasta while they dance behind you in their socks. The kind that grows in the quiet. The kind you carry like a secret, even from yourself. He let go first, just slowly, gently, like he didn't want to. And I missed it the second it was gone. But I didn't say anything. Neither did he. Eventually, we drifted off. I could feel his breath steady beside me. I watched his outline in the faint light that filtered through the curtains, just enough to know he was still there. And when I finally closed my eyes, I wasn't scared anymore. The next morning, the storm was gone. Sunlight spilled through the kitchen windows, soft and golden, like nothing had ever been wrong. The trees outside swayed gently, washed clean. The world felt quieter, softer, but not empty. He was already up. I found him barefoot at the stove, wearing the same hoodie from the night before, sleeves pushed up to his elbows. He was making pancakes like it was just another Sunday, like we hadn't fallen asleep side by side in the dark, like he hadn't touched my hand beneath the blankets. "Hey," he said, glancing over his shoulder. His voice was light. Normal. I nodded. "Hey," that was it. No mention of the night, no jokes, no questions, but it hung there, between us. Not heavy exactly, but unmistakable. He slid a pancake onto a plate and passed it to me. "There's syrup on the counter. I couldn't find the cinnamon." I poured too much syrup and sat down. The chair felt colder than usual. He sat across from me, biting into his food like he had nothing to hide. And maybe he didn't. Maybe I was the one filling the silence with meaning. Maybe he was just kind, just soft, just him. But still, everything felt different. His knee bumped mine under the table. Not hard, just enough. We both paused. I didn't pull away. "Sleep okay?" he asked. "Yeah," I said. "You?" He looked at me for half a second too long, then nodded. "Yeah." And then we went on, like we always did, eating in quiet, the kitchen full of the smells of syrup and sugar and sun-warmed wood. But there was something else too, a breath being held. Later that day, we painted the spare room. My mum had been asking for weeks. "Just a coat of something fresh before I get back," she had said. Something light, something calm. He picked a pale green, said it looked like sea glass. I didn't argue. We changed into old clothes, torn tees, worn jeans, and covered the floor with newspaper. The first few strokes of paint were messy, loud. Music played from his phone, some indie band I didn't recognize. The rhythm slow, almost sad. "You missed a spot," he said, tapping the roller against my shoulder. I laughed and dipped my brush straight into the can. "Don't tempt me," he grinned. "You won't." I didn't hesitate. Swiped green across his forearm. He gasped like I'd betrayed him. Okay. War. Paint ended up on both our faces, our clothes, the window. At one point, I had him cornered, brush held out in front of me like a weapon. He stepped forward, daring me. I didn't back up, and when I reached out, maybe to smear more paint on his cheek, maybe just to touch him, he caught my wrist. Gently, deliberately. His fingers were warm, his grip light, but sure, like he wanted me to feel it. I froze. He didn't let go. Instead, he stepped closer, his eyes searching mine. His thumb brushed a streak of green just below my jaw. Neither of us said a word. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it. And yet, I didn't move. Couldn't. His hand lingered on my face for a second too long. Then he pulled away. Slow, careful, like letting go of something fragile. And just like that, it was gone again. The moment, the charge. But it left something behind. We finished painting in silence. Not awkward silence, just full. Every now and then, I'd glance over at him. Sometimes I caught him doing the same. By the end of the day, the room looked fresh, light green, like spring, and everything else felt newer too. Changed, tilted, just a few degrees. That night, I lay in bed with the window cracked open. The wind was cool, brushing against the curtains like it was trying to slip inside. I couldn't sleep. I thought about the way his fingers had felt on my wrist, the way he'd looked at me. The storm from the night before, the silence at breakfast, the sun in his hair. Was this real? Or was I just seeing what I wanted to? But then again, he hadn't pulled away. He hadn't pretended nothing had happened. He had touched me like it meant something, and maybe that was enough, for now, because something had changed. Not everything, not loudly, but something. I could feel it. We were on the porch again. It had become our place without ever being declared so. Just the two old chairs, the creaky swing, and the endless sound of cicadas. The summer air clung to us, soft and thick, still warm even after sunset. The stars were faint through the hazy clouds, but they were there, just enough to remind you you weren't alone. He brought out 2 mugs, chamomile for him, black tea for me because I always pretended I didn't need sleep. Still hot, he warned as he handed it to me, fingers brushing mine. Thanks, I said, but I didn't look at him. I could feel him watching me. I could always feel it now, like a hum just beneath my skin. We sat in silence for a while. Not the kind that needs to be filled, just quiet, safe. His foot nudged mine under the chair. Not on purpose. Or maybe it was. Did you ever think, he said finally, voice soft and low, that life would be different by now? I glanced at him. His eyes were on the dark trees beyond the railing. His shoulders hunched slightly, like he was protecting something invisible. Different how? He took a slow sip of his tea. I don't know, just more figured out. Like you'd know what you want, who you are, what's okay to feel. Something tightened in my chest. I stared at the rim of my mug, watching steam curl into the air. Yeah, I said, all the time. He turned to me, searching. His face was hard to read in the half-light, but his eyes had that softness again, that question. I didn't run from it. He shifted in his seat, legs pulling up slightly. Do you ever feel like you want something more, but you don't know if you're allowed to want it? The words sat between us like a stone dropped in still water. I swallowed. My throat felt dry. He wasn't asking in general. I could feel it. He was asking me about us, about what hadn't been said. I could have laughed, brushed it off, played dumb, but I didn't want to lie anymore. Yeah, I said, quiet, honest. I feel that way almost every day. He let out a breath like he'd been holding it for hours. He didn't say anything right away, just reached down and adjusted the edge of the blanket we'd brought out. Then, slowly, so slowly he gave me time to move. He leaned his head against my shoulder. I didn't move, not even a little. His hair was soft, still damp from the shower earlier. He smelled like that cedar shampoo again, like mint and warmth and something I could never quite name. I looked down at his hand resting in his lap, close to mine. I could have taken it. I didn't. Not yet. But I didn't need to. Not tonight. Because this moment was more than we'd ever said, more than what a kiss could have held. It was trust and quiet want, and that tender, terrifying kind of beginning that didn't need to be loud. The kind of beginning where you sit beside someone, your heart beating too fast, and realize you don't want to be anywhere else in the world. We sat there until our mugs went cold. I didn't even notice when the stars disappeared behind the clouds. All I noticed was the weight of him leaning against me and how right it felt. It was past midnight. The house was still, wrapped in that sleepy hush that only comes when the world has truly settled. The kind of quiet that makes every sound louder, every breath more noticeable, every thought impossible to ignore. We were on the couch, the old one in the living room, cushions slightly sunken from years of movie nights and lazy naps. A fan hummed in the corner, pushing warm air around. The window was cracked open, letting in the scent of grass and something sweeter I couldn't place. Maybe the jasmine from the front garden. He was next to me, barefoot, knees pulled up, a throw blanket draped loosely over both of us. His hoodie had slipped off one shoulder. His hand rested close to mine, not touching, but close enough to feel. We weren't watching anything anymore. The TV had been on earlier, something forgettable and light. We'd laughed a little, shared the last of the ice cream, but now the screen was dark, and neither of us had reached for the remote. It was just us, and the quiet, and everything we hadn't said. He turned his head slowly and looked at me. His eyes searched my face like they were memorizing it. Like maybe he already had. I didn't look away. He swallowed. "Can I ask you something?" "Yeah," I said. My voice came out smaller than I meant it to, a whisper in the dark. His eyes flicked down to my mouth, then back up. "Do you ever wonder what would happen if you stopped being scared?" My heart stuttered. "What do you mean?" He gave a soft, nervous laugh. "I mean, what if we stopped holding back? Stop pretending this isn't something. Would it ruin everything, or?" He trailed off, didn't finish the thought. Didn't have to, because I knew what he meant. I'd been thinking the same thing, feeling the same thing. Every look, every almost touch, every long, quiet night, where I lay awake thinking about the way he said my name, the way he smiled when I laughed, the way my heart tilted a little closer to him every day. I knew. He looked down then, his fingers twisted the edge of the blanket. "If you're brave enough," he said quietly, "stay." The words hung in the air, soft, fragile. They weren't a command, not even really a request. They were a hope, a whisper of something possible. "If you're brave enough." I stared at him. My chest was tight. My skin buzzed with nerves, because he wasn't talking about staying on the couch. Not really. He was asking me something deeper, something scarier. He was asking if I could let go of fear, if I could trust what I felt, if I could want something out loud. And I did. I wanted him, not in some perfect cinematic way, but in the quiet way, the real way. The way where I knew his laugh before I saw his smile. The way where I knew what kind of cereal he liked, and which mug he always reached for, and that he sang when he folded laundry, even if he was off key. I wanted all of that. I wanted him. So I stayed. I didn't move. I didn't speak. But I turned toward him, and he saw it. His eyes met mine again, and this time, there was no question left. Just a breath between us. He leaned in slowly. So slowly, it felt like time had stopped, and I met him halfway, our lips touched. Soft, careful. It wasn't dramatic. No music swelled. No lightning struck. It was just gentle. Warm. Real. His hand found mine under the blanket, and our fingers tangled like they'd been waiting for this moment all along. We didn't rush. We didn't speak. We just stayed there, in the quiet, in the closeness. His forehead pressed against mine, and I breathed him in. Mint, cedar, summer. "I've wanted this for so long," he whispered. I nodded. "Me too." He laughed softly, a little shaky. "I thought maybe I was crazy." "You're not." We sat there for a long time, just holding hands, letting the moment wrap around us like a second skin. The fan kept humming. The night drifted by outside the window, and inside, everything had changed. Not because we kissed, but because we were finally brave enough to stop pretending we didn't want to. He leaned his head on my shoulder. I rested mine against his. And for the first time, in a long time, I felt like I was exactly where I was meant to be. It was past midnight. The house was still, wrapped in that sleepy hush that only comes when the world has truly settled. The kind of quiet that makes every sound louder, every breath more noticeable, every thought impossible to ignore. We were on the couch, the old one in the living room, cushions slightly sunken from years of movie nights and lazy naps. A fan hummed in the corner, pushing warm air around. The window was cracked open, letting in the scent of grass and something sweeter I couldn't place. Maybe the jasmine from the front garden. He was next to me, barefoot, knees pulled up, a throw blanket draped loosely over both of us. His hoodie had slipped off one shoulder. His hand rested close to mine, not touching, but close enough to feel. We weren't watching anything anymore. The TV had been on earlier, something forgettable and light. We'd laughed a little, shared the last of the ice cream, but now the screen was dark, and neither of us had reached for the remote. It was just us, and the quiet, and everything we hadn't said. He turned his head slowly and looked at me. His eyes searched my face like they were memorizing it. Like maybe he already had. I didn't look away. He swallowed. "Can I ask you something?" "Yeah," I said. My voice came out smaller than I meant it to, a whisper in the dark. His eyes flicked down to my mouth, then back up. "Do you ever wonder what would happen if you stopped being scared?" My heart stuttered. "What do you mean?" He gave a soft, nervous laugh. "I mean, what if we stopped holding back? Stop pretending this isn't something. Would it ruin everything, or?" He trailed off, didn't finish the thought. Didn't have to, because I knew what he meant. I'd been thinking the same thing, feeling the same thing. Every look, every almost touch, every long, quiet night where I lay awake thinking about the way he said my name, the way he smiled when I laughed, the way my heart tilted a little closer to him every day. I knew. He looked down then, his fingers twisted the edge of the blanket. "If you're brave enough," he said quietly, "stay." The words hung in the air, soft, fragile. They weren't a command, not even really a request. They were a hope, a whisper of something possible. "If you're brave enough." I stared at him. My chest was tight. My skin buzzed with nerves, because he wasn't talking about staying on the couch. Not really. He was asking me something deeper, something scarier. He was asking if I could let go of fear, if I could trust what I felt, if I could want something out loud. And I did. I wanted him, not in some perfect cinematic way, but in the quiet way, the real way. The way where I knew his laugh before I saw his smile. The way where I knew what kind of cereal he liked, and which mug he always reached for, and that he sang when he folded laundry, even if he was off key. I wanted all of that. I wanted him. So I stayed. I didn't move. I didn't speak. But I turned toward him, and he saw it. His eyes met mine again, and this time there was no question left. Just a breath between us. He leaned in slowly. So slowly, it felt like time had stopped, and I met him halfway, our lips touched. Soft, careful. It wasn't dramatic. No music swelled. No lightning struck. It was just gentle. Warm. Real. His hand found mine under the blanket, and our fingers tangled like they'd been waiting for this moment all along. We didn't rush. We didn't speak. We just stayed there, in the quiet, in the closeness. His forehead pressed against mine, and I breathed him in. Mint, cedar, Summer. I've wanted this for so long, he whispered. I nodded. Me too. He laughed softly, a little shaky. I thought maybe I was crazy. You're not. We sat there for a long time, just holding hands, letting the moment wrap around us like a second skin. The fan kept humming. The night drifted by outside the window. And inside, everything had changed. Not because we kissed, but because we were finally brave enough to stop pretending we didn't want to. He leaned his head on my shoulder. I rested mine against his. And for the first time, in a long time, I felt like I was exactly where I was meant to be. Have you ever stayed even when it scared you?